Today on ENT, the Ed News Ticker, we have stories from MIT and the Khan Academy. We have volunteers putting together a Web 2.0 dictionary in Arabic. Falling Bears, Common Core, Nonsense and Misery, Obama and Student Loans, and a 12-year-old Ed Reform hero, among many other stories. So thank you for joining us for ENT.
This is ENT, the Ed News Ticker for Monday, April 30th, 2012. ENT is brought to you by Udemy. Udemy enables anyone to take and build courses online. Their goal is to disrupt and democratize education by enabling anyone to learn from the world's experts. Visit udemy.com and follow them on Twitter at Udemy. Of course, we thank them for their support of ENT. So welcome to ENT. My name is Kirsten Winkler.
And I'm Christopher Dawson. This week in tech, MIT partners with the Khan Academy, developing short videos to fuel K-12 STEM education. The Institute launched an initiative encouraging its students to produce their own lessons in science and engineering aimed at students in grades kindergarten through high school. The videos will be accessible through the MIT plus K-12 site, as well as a dedicated YouTube channel. A subset of the videos will also be made available on Khan Academy, adding to a library of over 3,000 videos. The MIT plus K-12 project was developed in collaboration with MIT alum and Khan Academy founder Solomon Khan, according to MIT News.
So coming back home to his alma mater. Well.
That's right. That's nice.
It's another stepping stone in building the Khan Academy, so definitely.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is.
And then we have an interesting story on the Next Web about 2,500 volunteers across the Middle East are compiling a Web 2.0 dictionary in Arabic, of course. What else? So with an increasing demand for online content in Arabic and the language seeing impressive growth rates on sites like Twitter and Wikipedia, I've noticed that myself too, a new project aims to do its part to bridge the gap between Arabic and English content in social media and technology. 2,500 volunteers from across 28 countries are in the process of putting together a dictionary of technological and social media related terminology like spam, retweet, and phishing and so on that have emerged but have no equivalent in Arabic just yet. So the dictionary will be taking a standardized approach by sticking to formal classical Arabic.
Interesting. Makes sense for a dominant language.
Absolutely. And the language is definitely rising, and more people also in the Western world seem to be, I think for various reasons, attracted to learn it at least a little bit, and it's definitely a big part of the world's population, of course.
Agreed. So there's a falling bear fallout. Students are suing a school paper over a viral photo. University of Colorado Boulder student took a picture for his school paper, CU Independent, on Thursday. Within hours, the photo was famous. One day later, the student is planning on suing the paper. According to Pointer, the rights to the viral photo have been purchased by the Denver Post, the Colorado Daily, and Pointer, but CU Independent refuses to pay Duan any royalties. Duan, the student, wrote an email that we are going to write a letter to inform them not to use the photo anymore. We will take further action to collect the money from them. It's on Mashable, and DRM and copyright extends to students too. Right?
I mean, it's their right. So if everybody else pays, but one student paper or one paper, so absolutely, why not? Great photo and also very funny video, right?
Yeah, it really was.
All right, then on USA Today, we read about common core standards driving wedge in education circles. So a high-profile effort by a pair of national education groups to strengthen, simplify, and focus the building blocks of elementary and secondary education is finally making its way into schools. But 2 years ahead of its planned implementation, critics on both the right and the left are seizing upon it. A few educators say the new standards supported by the U.S. Department of Education are untested, and one Republican governor wants to block the measure, even saying it's a federal intrusion into local decisions. Yeah, so that comes along with federalism. Yeah.
It does. You know, this has been the number one barrier towards some reasonable set of standards here in the States. Everywhere else, there's a Ministry of Education, and such is not the case here. Not that we necessarily need a ministry, but it seems as though we should be able to agree on what U.S. students should generally be learning in English and math at the very least.
Yeah.
Guess not.
Yeah,
So.
I know this a little bit from Germany too. We also have a federal system, but of course it's not as overwhelming when you have, we don't call it states, but let's say 16 or 17. It's quite embarrassing not to know it as a German, but regions, of course, compared with 50 states.
Right. So speaking of the United States, as we know, President Obama has called out several schools saying they prey on veterans. President Obama said in his weekly radio address on Saturday that a new executive order will crack down on schools that try to take advantage of returning veterans. They bombard, as he quoted, they bombard potential students with emails and pressure them into making a quick decision, Obama said. Some of them steer recruits toward high interest rate loans and mislead them about credit transfers and job placement options. Under the order that Obama signed Friday, troops will be provided information about financial aid, while schools are required to provide counselors to veterans. That's in USA Today, and the returning veterans, of course, have access to the GI Bill, and there's a fair amount of money floating around for them to further their education, which is great, but certainly has been an opportunity for
some people, as always.
Yes.
Okay. So the next story was submitted to our new subreddit by Benjamin Stewart, and you can find him on Twitter at BNLEEZ, so that's his Twitter handle. And everybody can now submit stories to this new ENT subreddit, and he wants to point to a post on the newest ed reform leader, a 12-year-old opt-out hero. So I'm going to quote from this article. The language is not my language. It's the original language of the blog post, just to tell you. So the newest heroes of the ed reform movement are the students who opt out and speak out. Their voices are both loud and proud. They are against tests that they know do not benefit them, and in many cases actually do harm them. Our latest hero is 12-year-old Joseph Doherty, who did his best to opt out of these standardized tests. He knows they are useless for children in general, but he has also discovered they are harmful to him in particular. They cause stress and anxiety, which leads to emotional and physical distress. As a result, Joseph's mom informed his school principal that he would be opting out of the test and asked that he'd be provided with alternative activities during the days of testing. Against the wishes of this young man and his mother, his principal, Thomas Capone, forced Joseph to take the test. You find the story on the Innovative Educator on Blogspot. So Benjamin notes that, quote, the issue here is not whether standardized testing is right or wrong, but rather if the overall assessment approach a school is taking is right or wrong. And, the blog post misses the point. And I'd agree.
Interesting perspective, though, and
definitely,
calls out this continued question of the real value of these tests, or the dubious value of these tests, and we talk about standards, talk about a common core. We need to measure whether what we're doing is working, but
somehow we have to measure. But No, but it's good that we can give this a platform as well, and we are happy to pull in your stories as well if you want to submit some, and then we're going to read them.
Wonderful. So, in somewhat, I suppose, bittersweet news, a bank forgives a dead student's loan. Family fights to change a related law. 6 years after the death of Christopher Brisky, a 23-year-old student at Rutgers University, KeyBank has agreed to forgive his student loan. That's nice of them. But Brisky's family is not stopping there. It's now fighting to change the laws in the hope of sparing others the trauma it endured as lenders continue to hound it for payment on its dead son's debts. Because his father co-signed on a student loan from KeyBank, he was obligated to continue to make payments under the terms of the private loan agreement. He paid more than $20,000 of the $50,000 debt coming out of retirement to make the monthly payments, according to Ryan Brisky, 34, Christopher's brother. That's on ABC News.
One would assume that with the death of a person, the debt in student loan would end as well, but apparently this needed to be... it seems to be a decision by the bank, so not by law, but
right.
I mean,
he did co-sign the loan, but gosh, I know it's about the numbers, not about compassion, but
and neither, of course not him, but also not the family. They don't have an advantage if it's a student loan, so he cannot use it anymore. Okay, so let's look into study and research. Does handwriting have a place in today's tech-driven classrooms? We'll see. I wrote a piece now a month ago on that myself, so on kirstenwinkler.com, but this is another post. So there's still a clear emphasis on maintaining those building blocks within the education system. Berninger and her colleagues conducted a study, the researcher here, that looked at the ability of students to complete various writing tasks, both on a computer and by hand. The study, published in 2009, found that when writing with a paper and pen, participants wrote longer essays and more complete sentences and had a faster word production rate. In a more recent study, Berninger looked at what role spelling plays in a student's writing skills, and found that how well children spell is tied to how well they can write. So interesting findings here.
Yeah, my son is railing against being taught cursive, and fortunately his teacher has a fairly enlightened view of it. He was an ex-journalist, and so is teaching script just for speed, and I can buy into that, I guess, but gosh, I wish students could type and edit reasonably on the fly, and we'll have to work on that one.
True, very true.
We can solve that problem. I'm sure we'll come up with the next few weeks of ENT. So, free-range learners, a story about a study that opens windows into how students hunt for educational content online, which in my experience is quite poorly. But the preliminary results of a multi-year study of undergraduates' online study habits presented by Ms. Morgan from Chronicle at a news conference at a conference on blended learning this week shows that most students shop around for digital texts and videos beyond the boundaries of what professors assign them in class. Students seem most favorably inclined to materials from other universities. They mentioned lecture videos from Stanford and the Massachusetts Institute of Technology far more than the widely publicized Khan Academy, she says. If they're on a pre-med or health science track, they prefer recognized brands like the Mayo Clinic. Students often seek this outside content due to dissatisfaction with their own professors, Ms. Morgan says. So actually, I think that's good news. Not good news about the dissatisfaction, but good news that they're seeking what they need.
Interesting that it's more to looking into classic resources, and apparently not the same impression you had, that they wouldn't look further. But
I'm glad to hear it. Times they are changing.
Well, at least in one case.
Exactly.
Okay.
And it just shows the value again of Stanford's and MIT's open resources. So, very good. All right. Well, that closes this episode of ENT. You'll find links to the articles we covered on EduQuest. Just go to eduquest.com/ENT6, the number 6, and follow the EdNews Ticker on Twitter @EdNewsTicker to stay updated during the week. You can also help us with the show like Benjamin did today. As Kirsten pointed out, just go to our new subreddit at ednewsticker.reddit.com and submit your own articles or vote and comment on those you want us to to discuss during the show. Look forward to your input. ENT will be back on Wednesday. Until then, have a great start of the week, everyone.